Okay, so I'm all standing and talking. This is the back of my carriage, my little carriage converted to a cottage. And I'm just gonna pop the phone over here, have a chat with you. What happened after my project was done? This would have been, so it was the whole of, was it the whole of July? No, it was the whole of August. So the project took all of August and I think the first week of September. And then, so I had about 3 weeks of September left to do something. All right. And what was my task was to become certified in a new software. So after that first project was done, I had 2 weeks to become certified in a new software application. So now I told you about the software alliances we had. And this is different software from different software companies. I was assigned Oracle. So Oracle is a massive billion-dollar software company, and Oracle financial systems are used in many companies. So basically, for the next 2 weeks, I had 2 weeks to get trained up in that software, going through the online training that Oracle University is what they call it has, and then sitting the exam and passing that exam, and then telling my director, here are my results, I've passed the exam, I'm now officially certified. So I had 2 weeks to do that. And I'll tell you right now, doing a tech certification in 2 weeks to pass a tech certification exam is far more demanding and far more stressful than a project. So I got some resources and practice exam questions from the Oracle team there who had already done, fellow consultants who had already done the certification themselves and had passed. And I went through the training modules in Oracle University, and they were absolutely no help at all. And everyone was telling me all those modules are useless. It's better to do the exam questions and get well trained up in that instead. And now, luckily, for this exam, there were 5 attempts. So what I did was I took the exam once after only a week or a few days, I think, of training. And that was my way of gauging what was actually in the exam and how hard it would be. And most people only score about 30% on that first trial. And so did I. Thing is, you need 66% to actually pass the exam and say that you're certified. First trial run for the exam. Got 30%, normal. Studied for a week. Did all the training modules and did all the quizzes in that training module. Actually, I spent more time on the exam questions than anything as well, I think, if I can remember. And so I did a week of full-time study, bro. I was using those videos on YouTube where it's like a 3-hour study session. I wanted to make sure I wasn't distracted by YouTube, Instagram, TV, especially when you're working from home, it's easy to get comfortable. So I made sure I played like 2 or 3 study with me YouTube videos a day with those lo-fi beats in the background, making sure I was really putting my best foot forward. And after a week, I took a second exam attempt, and I only got like 47%. So a week's worth of study time and only a 10% increase in the score. Oh man, I had a fucking breakdown, bro. Then I got extra serious, okay? So I was like, all right, I'm going to learn these exam questions and answers off by heart. I'm going to spend my own money on Udemy to find more quizzes, questions and answers, because you can go on Udemy and find a bunch of resources when it comes to tech certifications, and they can be very helpful. It's not all questions are right. Make sure to check the reviews or take things with a grain of salt, but it can be very helpful. Man. And so I studied like that. I did practice test after practice test. This is the best way to do it. I felt like I was in high school again. And with 2 attempts left, I needed to make sure I studied hard, right? So it was a Monday. It's like 2 weeks are done. It's Monday after 2 weeks. This also means I'm cutting it fine when it comes to making the announcement to my director that I've actually completed the certification. So, first exam attempt was an intentional bomb, just to understand what kind of questions we get. Then I studied for a week, did the second exam attempt, only got a 10% increase, which was so disheartening. Spent the following week, the second and final week of my study time, smashing through exam questions, having noted down the type of questions that were asked in the exam. I was covering those topics. Now, this is actually a proctored exam that they give you. So when you start the exam, you have people at some different country, one of them, two of them, three of them, staring at you through your damn screen. Now, first time I took notes during the exam, no one said a word. Second time, the lady told me, oh, you can't take notes, you can't write things down. And I was like, what? Are you kidding? Anyway, but I still kind of like noted some things down because, hey, I wanted to study properly and effectively and then pass this damn thing. After my second attempt and my second week of study, I take the exam for a third time. This time I need to pass it, or I need to get damn close because I only have 2 attempts left. And after this attempt, I only have 1 attempt left. So it's the Monday of my second, 2 weeks of study are done. It's the Monday after. And I need to tell my director, hey, I've done the certification, I've passed it. And so Monday comes. Yeah. And I take my third attempt on this exam. And I get, I get like 63%. Remember, you need 66%. I was 3% off a pass. Again, this is Monday. And I knew that meant I only need 2 or more questions. 2 or more questions answered correctly, and I could pass. And so I remember in that exam when I took it, I still noted down the kind of questions that were in there. I spent that Monday night, I spent extra time studying those questions, pretty much guaranteeing myself in my head with all the exam questions that I had, all the exam practice questions I had, guaranteeing myself what I'd actually get in terms of a score, like knowing what was in the exam, what the kind of questions I was practicing, the kind of topics I was covering based on what I'd seen in the exam. I was like, okay, if I get this right, if I get this right, I should definitely pass. And I had no patience. I wanted to get this done. So even though I already took an exam that Monday, it was about 1 or 2 a.m. and I decided, 1 or 2 a.m. Tuesday, 1 or 2 in the morning, and I decided that I was going to take the next exam, the final attempt that I have, and pass this shit. Now, you're probably wondering, oh shit, what if you did fail? It means you have to pay $350 out of your own pocket to take the exam again. So, if you just go with the attempts that you're given, it means you don't have to pay shit, thank goodness, because who wants to pay $350 for that? Anyway, it's my final attempt. It's like fucking 1 a.m. Tuesday morning, and I score 70+%. Actually, no, I think I scored 80+%. Finally, the absolute fucking relief of that. It was like, I remember by the time I did finish, it was after 2 a.m. My mum was asleep on the couch, and I quickly went in. I'm like, Ma. I was like, I passed the exam. She's like, well done, puppy. And I was like, thank you. Because she knew how hard I was stressing and crying over this shit. Like the pussy that I am. So to have that finally done and dusted at 2:30, I was ecstatic, bro. Went to sleep. Got up at 6:30 a.m. because I had a 7-hour workshop that day in the office. But it was worth it because I didn't give a damn for the rest of that week. I didn't have to give a damn for the rest of that week. I finally passed. I gave the results to my director. Everyone says the congratulations, well done, you passed. You're now certified in this Oracle application. The rest of the week is pretty much, in terms of pay code, your general admin. I didn't sign up for any business development work because those only get assigned on Monday, and I was still studying on Monday. And business development work is like bench work, like task shit. And I was happy because it meant that I was just going to, do some other modules and some other certification that I was doing previously for the rest of the week. But I was slacking, bro. Like, it was great. I mean, I deserved it. I was putting in like 12, 14 hour days, bro. It was bad. Because with studying, and that's the thing, it's like, I mean, if you've been to uni, you know what it's like. When you're a student, it's a 24-hour thing. There is no limit. You can just keep studying more. So that's kind of what you do. So that was the first 2 weeks of September for me. Actually, that was the first 3 weeks of September for me. So 2 weeks of studying, got it done in the third week, and spent the rest of that week just fiddle fluffing around, to be honest. It was like 2 weeks training and 2 weeks business development work. So that's when you actually tell your resource manager, hey, I'm not on a project, so you can put me on business development work, which is just like assistant work for people doing like proposal bids, people who need help with decks and whatnot, usually partners and directors who need that kind of assistance. I got assigned just to basically gather up a bunch of PowerPoints and whatnot for the partner because he was going to be doing a presentation of sorts. I was barely given any contact or any direction. I was just looking around to get a bunch of stuff, contacting people to give me some information. There were nights where I was like up until 2 a.m. because I didn't really do much during the day. And then I'd be on a roll and very much awake around nighttime, taking care of that. But for the most part, those 2 weeks of BD, business development work, were pretty much vacation. I think, like, in the 2 weeks, or maybe 2-3 weeks, I can't even remember how long I was doing it for. In those 2-3 weeks, I probably did about 20 hours worth of work. You're probably thinking, oh, Balaclava, you had to, do some slide work, deck work, and compile that for the partner. That's pretty important. It's like, yeah, but the partner and whatnot don't give you any damn instructions, barely communicate with you. So you gotta do something. And if someone isn't communicating what they need from you, obviously what they need isn't really that important, is it? How important can it be to me if it's not even important to you? So basically I spent time compiling slides and whatnot, editing information. That did take a bit of time. So there were some nights where I was up late, but like I said, over that 3 weeks in total, I probably spent 20 hours working, which was absolutely sick. Especially when you had I had a project like that, plus that 2 weeks of absolute hell trying to pass that certification. I was enjoying it, my friend. I was enjoying it. Netflix and Uber Eats, it was the shit. For the record, I am not ugly. I wear this purely for privacy and because I don't want people knowing me. Can never tell if it's a human or a chicken. It's a chicken. It's like 2 meters away from me. Chicken? You can't see him. He's behind this damn bush thing. Oh wait, you can see his head. Hey, see, you can see him flicking. He doesn't want to play with me. Why is my hair coming out? Anyway, so tech certification complete, BD work complete. Then I find out that I'm going to be put on my second project out of nowhere. Why? Because one of my fellow grads was dropping out of the program. It meant that I just basically got plonked into a new project without the proper introduction. Nothing ever happens smoothly. Consulting in general is so ambiguous, but it's a real hit the ground running type of ting that they throw you into, which is fine. It is what it is. I'm not sure that's everyone else's experience, but it was mine. Did I resent it? Yes, because I like my handheld and I'm not afraid to admit it. But yeah, that's basically what happened. So there was a quick handover because this boy was about to leave in a couple of days. So I had some quick meetings with him and one of the senior consultants on the team, just so they could give me kind of like an overview of what was happening or what needed to be done or what this boy was doing. Really, the intro he gave me was just into some tasks that he was doing, like actual technical tasks, like metadata imports. Actually, I think that was it, just like metadata import, which isn't overly difficult. And he just showed me if you have trouble, all you have to do is contact one of these other senior consultants and they'll help you out, which was good. Basically, what I had to do for this project, the project in general was just an Oracle EPM software implementation. So you have a massive team all over the globe, from the Netherlands to Australia to India, who are in their own respective stream. And they basically are just working on their own stuff, blah, blah. Now, the team, like the head team, like director and partner and whatnot, are in Sydney. And so they're 2 hours ahead of me. So there were meetings at 6:30 and shit. And I would like show up for that like half dead. Again, working from home, because obviously why would I go into the office when I'm literally the only person in my entire state on the project? Only person in my entire state on that project. Everybody else is in a different state or different country. And so I'd get up at 6:30 and I'd be on. And then the people in Sydney were kind enough to be like, balaclava, it's super early, like just go back to bed, don't worry about it. Like, God bless you, thank you, good night. And then I'd be online later. So I didn't have to worry about those early morning meetings. I didn't really know what was going on for the most part of the first few days, because no one was really reaching out to me to do anything. And because, as I've made it clear, I didn't like the work I was doing, I didn't like the team I was a part of, I'm not going to try and give myself work. So I'll wait until someone comes to me, and then I'll do something. I'll do what they want me to do. I'll do what they need me to do, what they're paying me to do, whatever that is. So when I eventually it was a senior consultant in Australia that I would speak to, and then I basically worked under a senior consultant from India, and he was basically the guy that I was working under and assisting him and everything. Although this guy was doing the majority of the work, of course. I mean, he's a senior, he's a mastermind of this stuff. I'm just a little bit of an assistant for a lot of the nitty-gritty work. And that my nitty-gritty work was KPIs. So in general, Oracle software implementation, Oracle EPM implementation, and part of the Oracle EPM application is KPIs. So just KPI calculations and formulas for the client. As their business has KPIs, you have to put those types of KPI formulas in the application that we're implementing for them. Now, it sounds simple enough, but there's about 300 of them, 300 formulas. And if you think it's as simple as A plus B times C equals, no. Some of these formulas, and like it's code, my friend. It's like code specific to this Oracle software. Some of these KPI calculations would have 20 plus lines of code. And I had to learn how to code these KPI calculations and validate them, because the system actually has to recognize that, oh yeah, like, I'm not sure if anyone here has done programming. You can write a piece of code and you can go to run it and it says error. That's what it was like. So that was, oh man, October, November, half of December because we've shut down, and January. But for October and November and a bit of December, those were my days, day in and day out. Luckily, the work was more laxed, just because I was doing such a niche specific part of the actual application, and I was a grad, so I really have much to offer. And the guy I was working for was the type of dude who's a mastermind at this thing, and he's like an MVP main player, and he had his own thing to do. So I chat to him once a day just for him to delegate tasks, for me to ask questions. I was cover ground with the formulas day in and day out. If there were complications or there was something else that we needed to do with the formulas, that would get taken care of. I had to give a hand in that wherever I could. If there was a mass update that needed to be made, it'd be made. But yeah, I mean, it was better in the sense that my day started at around 10 or 11 because this guy's in India and I only need to talk to him. So I only need to talk to him when he comes on, which is around 10 or 11 o'clock. So that's when my day would start. My day would end probably around 4 or 5 p.m. There were some times where I'd be up late, like there were some nights or maybe a week in total where I was maybe up till midnight doing a bunch of these calculations because I would set a quota for the day and I want to get through it. It might drag on when there's a hiccup because there's an error, it's not validating, and I'm reaching out to people, but of course they're busy and they can't talk to me. That's the reality of consulting as well. Not everyone has time for you, and you're not going to get the answers that you may need as quickly as you need. And sometimes trying to figure it out yourself is what's expected, but at the same time it can be incredibly inefficient. That carried on through to December. We have our Christmas shutdown period. I returned back in January, and then first couple of days no one's contacted me, so I just chilled. Third day of the week back in January after the Christmas period, I have one of the people reach out to me like, hey, there's a lot of problems with the calculations. But I knew all the formulas had been validated, so I'm like, it must be a data issue from the client's end. We discovered that was the problem. By we, I mean the two senior consultants, bro, not me. I was just waiting on the information. Like, I'm just a grad. What the hell am I going to do? I also don't care. I know I'm not equipped for this, so I was just waiting for the answers. The answers came about. Something needed to be sorted out. My only, it was a data issue. The data issue needed to be corrected with the formulas. My only responsibility was to make sure a spreadsheet was updated because it was being used for record tracking. So when a formula was now fixed and we discovered the issue, well, the senior consultants discovered the issue, I was to put in there, hey, this is solved, or this is pending, whatever it may be. So I did that for about a month, and then the first week of February, or was the last week of January, I found out that I was finishing up. So the director sent me an email saying, hey, thank you for your efforts and your work. You'll be finishing on the first week of February, something like that, like 3rd of February. And I was like, cool. But at the same time, I do need another project lined up. Why? Utilization. I'll tell you about the utilization. Utilization metric is the metric that shows how often, as a percentage, you were on a project throughout your graduate program. And this is what determines whether or not you get promoted. You have your timesheet that you fill out. If you're on a project, you have a billable code and you enter that code. And so as you spend more time on projects, it calculates as a percentage how much time you've been at this company, how much time you've been in your role, and how much time of that has been spent on an actual project being billable. Now, you want to aim for 80 to 90% utilization on a project in order to guarantee a promotion. If it's less than that, you got to give reasons why you weren't on a project, such as training, such as other contributions, certifications, maybe notable BD work, maybe not. But basically, when I found out I was getting taken off my second project, I needed to tell my coach. Everyone's assigned a coach, and a coach is usually a senior manager. And I needed to tell him, hey, I'm getting off this project soon, and I need to get on the next project. And it's your coach's responsibility as well to make sure that you're also staying on a project so you can get promoted and whatnot. They have responsibility to make sure that you are keeping up with your goals. Usually your goal is to be promoted. So they will put in an effort to make sure that you stay aligned. So in my case, I was getting taken off a project. I cannot stay off a project for too long, especially in my case. I was only a few months off getting promoted or being reviewed for potential promotion. So I needed to stay on a project to keep my utilization up, because my utilization was not high, it was mid. It was where it should be, I suppose, at the time, but we needed to keep it on track, so it was near that 80% mark at least by the time I was being reviewed for potential promotion. So luckily my coach was already on a project, and it was an Oracle project, one that I am supposedly qualified for. And he said, I'll get you on this project with me. He was also the project manager for this project. So I was like, okay, awesome. So as soon as I was taken off project 2, come that Monday, I was then put onto project 3.